Okay, so in this video, we're gonna go ahead and assemble our rocket lantern. And I'm gonna begin by putting together the base of our lantern. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to begin by putting together, like I said, the base, the actual base of the structure. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna take this piece, there's two of these, and we're just gonna bend and fold these tabs at the score lines just to get them going in their appropriate final destination. And then you have these little tabs here at the end, and we're gonna glue them side to side. And the tabs are going on the inside of the piece with our texture on the AC cardstock on the outside. Okay, so now that I have that in place, I can actually go ahead and take it and kind of lay it on itself and use it as a guide. It should be basically flush and seamless. You shouldn't even be able to see that piece underneath. That's how you know that you've got it lined up correctly. And then what we're going to do is close it up by taking the other triangular tab and gluing it to the other side. So I can tuck that under, and again, same idea. Just fold it like so, and that's going to ensure that you've got a perfect connection when everything's nice and seamless like that, okay? So that is the main structure, and we didn't really fold at the score lines here, which we need to do. So what we want to do next is grab our liner piece, actually, and it's this blue piece here with the little L on it, as you can see. Okay, and it doesn't really matter which way you put it in. What we're going to do is we're going to shove it in like so. Okay, and that's just going to help us get a it's going to help us with the structure, like basically create the structure for us. And that is going to be the top of the base. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put glue on these tabs here. And then we're going to pop that piece in. It's going to help us with the shape of this base, just to make the rest of it go together that much easier. And again, it doesn't really matter which way you put it. I think I'm going to put it texture side down because it's going to get a better grip, because that texture kind of gives it a little extra something to hold on to. And then when we have that in there, I'm just going to run my finger across all those tabs, kind of pushing in that side piece so it butts up against my liner perfectly. Okay. And if you did that right, when you flip it over, everything should kind of just be nice and pretty, like so. There's a couple little spots that didn't completely take. Now, you don't want to close this thing up, okay? Because as you can see here, with this guy here, what we've done, and actually what you can do is you can take this top piece and you can glue this on. You want to make sure that you line up the holes. You really can't mess that up because the holes are in the same exact spot, regardless of which side. So I want to put glue on these tabs. Try to get it kind of close to the edge, but not like totally to the edge, because as you push down, that glue will kind of smear out and push out to the edge. So again, just make sure that you're matching up the holes from the previous piece as best as you can. If it's slightly off, it's not the end of the world, because all we're doing is poking some pipe cleaners through there. Now there's one additional piece that needs to go on there. So again, you need to match up the holes. Okay, I did this, or we did this in a gold foil, actually a gold glitter. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue on this piece here. It almost looks like a sun or something. Try to get it out to the edge I'm like just gently squeezing this thing and grazing it across very quickly just to get like some really fine dots of glue everywhere. Okay, so just match that up with the holes. It's completely symmetrical, so you can't really mess it up. Okay, and the reason that we're not putting the bottom on yet is because, as you see here, we have the pipe cleaners, and what we've done is we've kind of taken these and bent them in half and just squeezed real tight at the bottom just to kind of make it as flat as possible. And then what we did, and actually helped Diana with the assembly of this, is you just kind of shove it through there. Okay, and you can adjust the height however you want. You can put a whole bunch of it in there to make it short like this, and then kind of curl it. Okay, you can do whatever you want with these and curl them however you want. There's no right or wrong way. So that's what we did. And then, you know, basically repeat this process for all the little holes. And it's a little tricky, but it's not bad. And you just kind of bend it over like that. And then we took hot glue to glue that down. And that seemed to give us the best result, and it really kind of keeps it in place so it doesn't jitter around. So, you know, put your pipe cleaners in there, hot glue them down. This process takes a little bit of time because you got to wait for the hot glue to dry. Just don't overdo it with the hot glue. A little goes a long way. Okay, and once you have all these in place, you can go ahead and glue the base on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Just going to glue that on. So at this point, you're going to be holding it up like this because of all those straws. I actually did do this for the assembly of the final one in our video, so I have the experience, and it's not really that bad. It's not difficult at all. Okay, so then you're gonna put the base on, and you can actually flip it over at this point, and you'd be pushing from these sides here to get that base on the bottom. Okay, so that is how the base goes together. And then there's actually one more part to the base, and it's this part here. And this is, as you can see here, there's this little, almost like a, what is it called? I can't think of what it is. That little party thing made out of wood. I can't, my brain is just not working today. But anyway, there's holes in there because we didn't want to obstruct the stars on the side, which are vellum, but also wanted to make it tall enough so that when you put this on, it doesn't blow over. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot easier that way as far as getting your hand in there to replace your flameless tea light. Okay, so I'm going to take this piece and just fold it at the score lines, and then fold, actually before we do that, we can go ahead and glue this piece here. There's a little tab there. I have not folded it yet. I'm just going to glue it while it's flat to ensure that I've got a perfect alignment. Okay, so just get that glued. And you can kind of rub off any excess glue that you might have gotten on there. And just push down, make sure that it's nice and even. And then you can go ahead and bend this thing into shape. Okay, so it's going to look like that. And you're going to bend these tabs down, and we're going to glue this piece to the bottom to keep it all together, and so that it's easier to glue to our base once we have this together. And again, this thing is going to keep the top on of our lantern so it doesn't blow over, and it'll keep the little tea light from jostling around too much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on the bottom. Now technically you could probably have put this piece inside. I wonder if we did that. Yeah, we did actually. Let me take that off. No big deal. We're going to glue that to the inside so that it finishes off the inside of this. Because you're not going to see the bottom because it's getting glued down onto the base. So we don't really need to have a finished bottom for this. So we're going to actually pop this piece inside, and that makes our life easier anyway. Okay. So that is on the inside now. Give that a chance to dry. And I'm kind of going quick because I don't want you guys to get bored. So I am making a little bit of a mess, but as long as you guys know how to put it together, you can take your time. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna place glue on the bottom of this. So you see that mistake that I made? Doesn't really matter because we're putting glue on this thing anyway. And then we're going to line this up and center it right on our base. Okay. So you're gonna give that a chance to dry. And again, we made this big enough for one of my favorite flameless tea lights, this guy here. It's like $6 or $7 on Amazon, and it changes colors and it fits in there perfectly. Okay, so that is the base. All right, so now that's the base. We can go ahead and put that to the side for now. We're gonna pretend that this is our base. Okay, and I'm gonna pop my tea light in there, move this out of the way, and we can go ahead and begin working on the main structure of our lantern. And you're gonna grab this piece. Now on mine, I've already taken this panel and glued it onto these sections here, okay? I rarely recommend that you do that now because it's just gonna make the assembly so much easier. So I'm gonna place glue on the back of these panels. Oops. And I am out of control. It has been a long day. And you wanna go ahead and just do your best to get a nice line of glue on this whole thing here. There we go. And like I said, I've already glued down 5 of these. This is my last one. So you're gonna get all of yours glued down. And they only fit one way. As far as like which way you can put them on. Because if you flip it over, the tip of the star will be upside down and you'll realize that it won't work that way. So so I already have all 6 of mine on, and actually, as you can see, this little corner piece here, it's a little delicate, but when you get that extra panel on there, it really reinforces it and makes it much easier and sturdier to bend. Okay, so I really recommend that you do that now. And now what I'm doing is I'm just bending all of these to get them into shape and to help them get ready for their final position. And then this last piece here, it's a little thin in the middle because we didn't want to obstruct the light penetrating through the vellum. Speaking of vellum, I've already glued one of my pieces on there. You want to go ahead and put your vellum on the rest of these panels. Okay, just put some glue around the perimeter and on the inside and get that glued into place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and close this up by putting glue on this tab here. Okay, and then we're just going to glue that to the inside, and you can again flatten this out and make sure that way you can make sure that you've got a perfectly aligned glue job here. Okay. So just hold that down until it's dry. Okay, and again, you're gonna have your vellum on yours. I have my vellum on that one. So that's what that looks like, okay? And at this point, we're pretty much almost done. All we have to do, and as you'll see, once we put the top on, it'll keep its shape more, but that's gonna slide on just like that. So, well, actually, we're not done yet. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this piece here and this strip here. And now, I don't want you to glue this together, okay? We're gonna actually delay that temporarily because, well, a couple reasons. Well, one reason actually, and that is depending on your paper, depending on how thick your paper is, this piece, if you put it together and try to slide it through, it may be too tight, and I don't want you to do that. So with your texture side down, what we want to do is bring these tabs through like so. Okay. Just get them in order, get them in place, like so. And we're simply going to glue these tabs to the top here. Okay, so I'm going to start with this last one here because this one does have a little bit of resistance. If you're using white cardstock, it'll probably fit more flush, but if you're using a thicker cardstock that has been colored or has a color, it may be a little bit tighter, but it's fine. It's all this stuff is going to be hidden away anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. Okay, so I'm going to go to the opposite side and put some glue on this tab here and glue that in place. Okay, and then you can just go ahead and put glue on the remaining tabs. Work your way all the way around until you have them in place. So your bottom is going to look like that. Okay, and then once we have them all glued, what you want to do is this part here, just make sure that this last tab is just at a straight angle, basically. So we'll go ahead and just get that glued. It may overlap a tiny little bit, and that's okay. Okay, and yours are going to be all glued in place like so. So I'm just going to finish that up real quick. And I can actually just put that down on my table and work my way around. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and take this piece and get it all folded. And you are, while it's flat, going to put your decorative panels right on there with the ones with the designs. There's 3 of those. And then there's 3 blank panels that are going to get glued on there. And then also, you want to make sure that you put your vellum on. So just make sure that that's glued on. Okay, so we're going to close this guy up by placing glue on this tab. And just simply gluing it in place like so. Get rid of that excess glue. And you can push it down on your table. Okay, close that up even better. And then we're going to take and fold these tabs over. And we're going to place glue on just one tab at first and get this tab glued into place like so. Just make sure that's nice and aligned and perfect. Okay, and then you can go ahead and place glue on the rest of them and get this piece closed up. Now once we have it closed up, we're going to go ahead and insert it into the actual rocket itself. Okay, so just close that up. You might need to get your fingers in there to get that all lined up. Give it a few seconds to get its initial grip. Just like so. And then we can go ahead and insert it into the actual structure of the rocket. We are going to place glue on the inside here, okay, just right up at the top, like a nice line right up at the top. And as we slide it down, it's going to catch that glue and it's going to hold it. Okay. Now, actually, I just realized that I'm putting the glue on the wrong side. You want the tip of your star, this is the top, okay, so ignore what I just did I had it upside down, so I'm glad I caught that. Okay, so you want to put glue up at the top here. There we go. Get it all the way around. And then we're going to take this piece and just slide it on in. Just like that. Okay, so we have it inserted, and at this point all that's left to do is to take these decorative panels and just simply glue them on at the top and the bottom. There's 4 of them, 4 of these pieces total, and you can just place glue on them and get them glued down like so. And that's really it. At that point, yours should look like this. Okay, and we used glitter and just white vellum, and then the whole thing will slide onto the base. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.